question. All right, to calculate payroll, we're going to go ahead and click on Payroll and then Calculate Payroll. Calculate Payroll, you'll notice at the top of each of the payroll windows, there's different steps. So we're on Calculate Payroll, screen 1. Here, we need to set our settlement date and our pay period ended date. Those could be the same date. They do not have to be the same. Sometimes the pay period ends earlier than the actual day you receive your check, or the settlement date. The settlement date or the pay date, that is the day that the payroll will show as recorded in the Church Windows program, and that would be the date reported to the IRS. If you use direct deposit, that the settlement date or the payday, that is the date the money would be taken out of the church's account and put into your employee's account if you do direct deposit. So you need to at least usually the bank needs at least 2 to 3 days prior to the transfer of that money to get that all done. So we're going to go ahead, I'll pretend it's like where I work. Our pay period or settlement date will be June 30th, and our pay period ended on the 25th. So you put in your pay date or settlement date and the actual date the pay period ended, and then click Next along the bottom. And that takes us to page 25 if you're looking at a book. And on the screen, we can see we're now at Calculate Payroll 2. Here we're going to pick who we want to pay. Notice upper right, we could choose all employees or contractors. In this case, we want specific employees. So we're going to choose specific employees or contractor, and that changes our screen to show us a list of our employees. We want to pay Larry and Jimmy, so we're going to just click Clear All. Now upper left, we could choose from employees or contractors, but we want employees, we know. So we cleared all, and now we're just going to check Larry and Jimmy. Notice if I needed to go back and change my dates, or if at any point during the calculation I realize I need to go back and change something, you can always click that back button. I want to go ahead and hit Next to move on to step 3, Calculate Payroll 3. This shows us their actual pay information. And if you look kind of middle of the screen, there are 3 different tabs, the pay hours and rates, and it pulls that information from the employee files, which we've already set up, the deductions that we've already put on their files, and then allowances or other pay that we've also put on their files. Hold on just a moment. We have workmen right outside the window mulching and doing the bushes, and I really don't feel like having them stare at me while I teach the class, so let me shut the blinds there. All right, so our pastor Larry, he's salaried, so we don't need to change anything on his pay. If we change or turn to page 26, if you're using the book, we did decide this is the pay period, though, that he does not get his automobile allowance. So on our Allowances tab, or any of the tabs, if you want to change something or remove it, to remove it, we're just going to highlight the line where we see that automobile flat rate, and then we're going to click Delete to remove that from this pay. Now, if I wanted to make a permanent change and remove that from Larry, I would want to go to his actual employee file. But we're just doing this temporarily for this pay, so we deleted that. Jimmy, he's our hourly person, and we want to click on Jimmy and then click on Pay Rate Hours. He only worked 40 hours instead of 45, so we're going to change this to 40 for his regular pay. So we're just clicking right on regular, changing the hours. We could click across the tabs for him and see what his different deductions and allowances are, and if we need to change or edit those. And when we're ready, we're going to go ahead and click Next along the bottom and turn to page 27 if you're following in the book. This takes us to Calculate Payroll 4, where we can print out different reports. This is also where we can browse what we're about to post, our pays. If we want to see the reports before we post the payroll, then we can check here any of these reports that we'd like to see. We can also check here to save any of these selections as default, so it will automatically pop up with those checked. let's go ahead. We'll take a look at everything here. So I'm going to check all of these. Also, I'm going to click here on Browse Payments so you can see what happens here. If we click Browse Payments, we can see the taxes withheld, the gross tax, just all the details about the pay. If anything's wrong here, we can click Cancel or Back to go back to any of the other steps we need. If everything's okay here, now also along the bottom, notice we can click and see our accumulating values for sick and vacation time and the additional Medicare tax. We're happy with this, so we're going to click Cancel. Takes us right back to step 4, where we're going to click Next. And if you're looking at your book, then turn to page 28. Once we hit Next, then that brings up the different reports we asked to see. If you want to see them larger, you can maximize your screen. Does indicate here on this report, because we're viewing it before finishing the posting, that the entries here have not been posted. So if you post this and at a later date, or if you print this and then at a later date you go back in and you can't find a payroll, but you have this report, well, this says that they have not been posted, so that might have been the issue. To move, this is the taxable earnings detail report, and you'll notice for Larry, if we look across, because he is a minister, nothing is withheld for his Social Security and his Medicare. To see the next report, up along the top, we just click the Next Page button. Clicking Next along the bottom would take us to the next step. To move through the reports, click the next page along the top. Takes us to the second report we asked to see, our pay period, pay type earnings detail report. And then the next report is our 941, or our pay period deductions report. Here we could see what our 941 deposit is if you're looking for how much you need to pay for your 941 taxes. And again, these say posted payroll only. Down here, entries have not been posted. And then if we click Next one more time, it shows us our check register. Tells us that these checks have not been printed. There is no check number because we haven't gotten to that part yet. So once you print any of these reports you need, along the bottom, we can just click Next. And that takes us to Calculate Payroll 6. Here we can confirm the payroll date, post that payroll to the records, and we could create our direct deposit EFT file. So here you see your settlement date. If this is wrong, you could click back at this point and change your date. You can opt here. If we did not want to post this yet, we could choose No, and it would save our payroll. So if I click Finish, it tells me my payroll has been calculated but not posted. So if I say OK, if I go back now, you can see Calculate Payroll has a little check by it indicating we still have to finish something. And if I then select these people or say Edit, it takes me back to step 3. Hit Next again, I think, because I did not. Here we go. So now I want to go ahead. I'm going to post to payroll. I want to keep that checked yes. If you have direct deposit and you want to create your EFT file for the bank, then you want to make sure that's checked. If you want to print checks, then make sure Print Checks Assigned Check Numbers is checked as well. And if you're going to transfer this to accounting, which we do recommend, rather than entering it separately in accounting as a separate transaction entirely as a journal entry, Payroll it integrates really nicely with accounting. You can transfer all the details of the pay into the appropriate accounts with just a click. So we really recommend using that transfer function rather than entering it separately. Saves you time and there's less chance for errors that way. If you want this to be your setting, you can check Save as Default, and then all these things will be checked automatically when you come in to calculate payroll. Excuse me. Once you're ready, then along the bottom, we're going to click Finish. tells me, and I'm at the bottom of page 31 now if you're following in the book, tells me the payroll was posted to the employee file successfully, so I can say OK. Now, if you're not using the EFT or direct deposit, then you won't see this screen. This is just asking, this is the screen where I can create my EFT file. So if I want to do that, again, if you don't do direct deposit, you won't see this screen. But for those of you who do, the book tells you to see create EFT, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. So you can see that. Here's a preview of the EFT file, and you can print this out so the employee can actually, you can give this to the employee so they have a stub. Hit next, and then finish, and that creates your EFT file. Once we're done with that, then it brings up our print checks. If you are doing direct deposit, you cannot print checks until you create that EFT file. Once you get to print checks, then you want to put your starting check number in. And then if I hit tab, that will go ahead and fill that in. If I had multiple people, you would see it going 1, 2, 3. Next one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5, and so on down the line. It would just sequentially number those. On our check, if we'd like, we could add a memo field. You could check here and then put in happy summer break. Whatever you'd like to have for your memo. And then when you're ready, click next. Excuse me. I need more coffee today. That brings up a preview of your stub. Let me bring up here the stub, the check, and the stub. And you can go ahead and print that out and give that to your employee. We can see here, middle of the screen where you see the check, there's our memo, happy summer break. Once you're done, just hit next. Once you print it, brings up a little window, print checks, assign check numbers. I'm on page 34 of the book now, and this screen is basically asking me, did these checks print correctly? And what you want to do is just put a little check by any of the checks that did print correctly. If you have more than one, you probably will. Any that do not print correctly, you don't want to check, or you can say no, checks need to be reprinted later. In this case, I want to say yes, the highlighted check printed correctly, and I'm going to say finish. And that should take me to my last step, transferring to accounting. If you're ready to transfer to accounting, you can do that now. If you're not ready, I can close. And if I go to payroll and then look, transfer to accounting is active. Notice create EFT, how it's grayed out, because that's not something I can do. If I have something waiting to transfer to accounting that I forgot to transfer or decided I wanted to transfer at another time, then transfer to accounting will be active. If I click on that again, we'll bring the transfer window up. And up here you can see any pay dates waiting to transfer. Nothing, I can't get the list to show because I only have one date, the June 30th date. But if you had multiple dates waiting to transfer, you could select the one you needed in the upper left. And from here, if you'd like to, you could print. I'm going to go ahead and just click transfer. It tells me transferring payroll data to accounting. Let's make a note of those. So 134 through 135, if I want to print, I could say yes. And that will bring up a preview of what we call our accounting transfer audit report. And this shows where the different parts of pay, where they were debited and credited to in the accounting module. Now that was 134 and 135 in accounting. So let's real quick, oops, I always forget there's a finish along the bottom. So we're done. Transferring, posting, calculating, transferring, doing everything. Let's go ahead real quick. I forgot about wanting to do this, so let's see how long Church Windows takes to open. This computer is a little slower than the one at my desk. While we're waiting, now after the fact, if you want to see that accounting transfer audit report, if you go to reports and right here about the middle, choose accounting transfer audit report. I can choose who I want to, whoops, we want to see all departments. You can choose the process date you need, hit next, and that brings up the transfer audit report that we also saw at the end of our posting and transferring. But you can get that report after you've calculated and transferred as well. Let's see if Church Window's opened here. All right, so let me real quick show you an accounting. If I go to Transactions Browse in the upper left, actually I shouldn't need the transaction numbers. If I just scroll to the bottom, that should be my latest transactions, which should be the payroll we just sent over. And indeed, there is 134 and then transaction 135. So not only was I able to calculate payroll and create direct deposit and paychecks for the employees, but then you saw with just a click and waiting just a few seconds, it transferred all those portions of the pay directly over into accounting into the appropriate liabilities, asset, and expense accounts. So really there's no reason to not transfer that over to accounting. It saves you a lot of time. All right. So that is everything I wanted to show you for calculating payroll. Again, that is available. What I did today is available in our workbooks. And those are available under beginning and then training workbooks. Scrolling down to payroll at the bottom, and I was using Payroll 101. Now these do cost money. If you want a link you can download, or that we send you, you download and you print yourself, those are $12. Or if you want us to print the book for you, bind it and send it to you, then those are $22. And you can purchase those directly on the website. Now, I know we have lots of free documents available on our website and movies as well. So I just did a search real quick with using the little magnifying glass in the upper left. Did calculate payroll. And it doesn't look like we have any documents. Let's see. Aha. If I just look up payroll, notice we do have quite a few documents and possibly movies on payroll. So I always recommend, we do want to make money to pay our employees, but I always recommend take a look on our website, try some keywords, type those in, see if we have maybe a free document or movie that might help with whatever you're looking for. And then beyond that, if you can't find free documents or movies, the workbooks are available for sale as well. All right. So, it is just now 1:20, so that took the 20 minutes. Are there questions about payroll? Again, if you have a really in-depth question, I might not know the answer because payroll is one of the modules that I just know the basics. I typically don't take payroll calls because you don't want me answering your payroll question because I don't know lots about payroll other than the basics. You are welcome. If you have a question pertaining to your data, something's not coming out right, you're just not sure about the totals, then that's definitely a question where I advise give us a call, 1-800-533-5227, or you can also email your questions to support@churchwindows.com, and we can answer questions via email as well. All right. If you're in the middle of typing a question, go ahead and hit enter, and that way I won't close the room before you finish typing, and then you can type the rest of your question. Somebody said, I do notice that when I process payroll and an employee has a problem such as no amount in overtime pay, but they had overtime hours, it would be nice to fix that and reinstate that. I don't know the answer to that, John, so if you want to give us a call, 1-800-533-5227 and ask for a payroll tech. I'm sure they would be able to guide you as to what's going on there, but I do not know why that is occurring. I'm sorry. And as I said, Josh normally teaches the payroll class, but he's in Ireland. I think today's his last day, and um, he comes back tomorrow. So actually, I don't think he'll be in the office until Friday, but he could definitely answer that question, I'm sure. I apologize. I don't know the answer. I hate not knowing the answers. You're welcome. All right, I didn't see any other questions come in, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for today. Real quick, if it's your first time doing a webinar and somebody else signed you up, take a look at free online webinars. There should be topics. I know we got the list. Yes, there are topics up all the way through August now. So go ahead and sign up for as many as you'd like. Those are all free. All right. Thanks again for coming. Everybody have a great day. And I'm sure I'll talk to you on the phone sometime in the future. Bye.